L. Ron Hubbard's Science of Survival is one of the foundational texts of Scientology, expanding on the concepts introduced in Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, and introducing the tone scale, a framework for understanding human emotions and behavior. Hubbard presents the book as a definitive guide to human survival and interpersonal dynamics, claiming that it offers the key to predicting and controlling the behavior of others. However, like his other works, Science of Survival is a patchwork of borrowed concepts, pseudoscientific claims, and manipulative techniques. Hubbard appropriates ideas from psychology, eugenics, and emotional classification systems, distorts them, and reframes them in rigid, formulaic terms to serve Scientology's agenda. While he claims the book offers practical tools for improving one's life, it ultimately creates a system of judgment and control that reinforces Scientology's authority over individuals. The cornerstone of Science of Survival is the tone scale, a chart that ranks human emotions and behaviors on a numerical scale from -40, complete failure or death, to +40, a godlike state of total serenity and self-determination. Hubbard asserts that individuals occupy specific points on this scale, such as 1.1, covert hostility, or 2.0, antagonism, and that their tone level dictates not only their emotional state, but also their moral character and value as a person. This system bears striking similarities to early psychological work on emotional classification, such as Wilhelm Wundt's three-dimensional model of emotions, or Charles Darwin's studies on emotional expression in humans and animals. However, Hubbard distorts these ideas by assigning rigid moral judgments to each level of the tone scale. For example, he describes individuals at 1.1 as dangerous and criminal and claims they cannot be trusted. This framing oversimplifies the complexity of human emotions, reducing people to static categories that justify Hubbard's broader authoritarian framework. Hubbard also draws heavily from the pseudoscientific eugenics movement, which was influential in the early 20th century, particularly in its focus on ranking people's inherent worth. His description of the tone scale as a predictor of behavior echoes the eugenicists' obsession with identifying undesirable traits in order to justify exclusion or control. For instance, Hubbard writes, "The aberrated person, low on the tone scale, will, in the guise of sanity, do those things which will bring about insanity in others." Such statements promote fear and mistrust of individuals deemed low tone, creating a justification for their exclusion or surveillance. This has direct implications in Scientology's practices, where individuals deemed low tone may be labeled suppressive persons, SPs, and subjected to ostracism, ethics handling, or even disconnection. By co-opting and rebranding eugenicist rhetoric, Hubbard embeds a rigid, dehumanizing worldview into his supposedly scientific system. Another troubling aspect of Science of Survival is how Hubbard uses the tone scale as a tool for control and manipulation. He instructs readers to evaluate others' tone levels to determine whether they are trustworthy or valuable, framing interpersonal relationships as strategic rather than empathetic. For example, he claims, one can only deal safely with individuals who are well up on the tone scale. This transforms normal human interactions into exercises in judgment and exclusion, reinforcing a black and white worldview where people are either assets or liabilities based on their supposed tone. Moreover, Hubbard's suggestion that individuals can permanently raise their tone level only through Scientology auditing creates yet another dependency loop, as readers are led to believe that only Scientology can free them from the limitations of their tone. The book's deterministic view of human behavior is also deeply flawed. Hubbard claims that a person's tone level is a fixed, measurable indicator of their morality, intelligence, and potential, but he provides no empirical evidence to support this assertion. Emotions are complex, context-dependent, and often fleeting, yet Hubbard treats them as static traits that define a person's entire character. For example, he describes individuals at 1.1 as inherently deceitful and harmful, stating, "There is no more dangerous type of personality than the covertly hostile person." This oversimplification not only lacks scientific validity, but also encourages Scientologists to view others and themselves through a lens of suspicion and judgment, fostering division and paranoia within the group. Hubbard's omission of nuance and context is deliberate, as it ensures that readers are left with an incomplete and inflexible model of human behavior. The tone scale, while presented as a practical tool for understanding others, is more accurately a tool for control, encouraging Scientologists to police themselves and others based on Hubbard's arbitrary criteria. For those who feel stuck at a low tone, the only solution offered is Scientology auditing and training, reinforcing the church's monopoly on personal and spiritual improvement. This dependency is compounded by the book's moral absolutism, which portrays Hubbard's teachings as the sole path to understanding and surviving in a dangerous, low-tone world. In summary, Science of Survival is a textbook example of Hubbard's strategy of appropriating pre-existing ideas, stripping them of complexity, and repackaging them in service of Scientology's agenda. The tone scale borrows heavily from early psychological and eugenicist frameworks, but its rigid, moralistic application serves only to divide people into simplistic categories and promote judgment and control. The book's deterministic worldview and pseudoscientific claims offer no real insight into human behavior, instead creating a system that isolates individuals, fosters paranoia, and drives dependency on Scientology. Far from being a guide to survival, Science of Survival is a guide to manipulation, both of oneself and others, dressed up in the guise of science and self-help.